All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving deep into the data behind South Korea's extreme gender polarization. If you've glanced at the news lately, you've probably seen all the sensational headlines. But today, we're moving way past the noise. We're going to uncover the actual structural failures that are driving a wedge so deep into a society, it's literally reshaping their demographics and their politics. It is absolutely wild.
Okay, looking at our agenda today. 1. Symptoms of a broken system. 2. The young men's reality. 3. The young women's reality. 4. The digital and political war. 5. The true culprit, economics. And finally, 6. A warning for the West. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Symptoms of a broken system. When a society stops marrying.
Now, to really understand this crisis, we have to look at the most glaring symptom. A society that has, for all intents and purposes, just stopped tying the knot. In under 30 years, South Korean marriages dropped by exactly half. The stakes here? Well, they're perfectly captured by this number right here, 0.72. That was South Korea's total fertility rate in 2023, less than 1 child per woman. That makes it literally the lowest fertility rate on the entire planet. Why does this matter so much? Because in Korea, fewer than 1 in 20 babies are born outside of marriage. That's the lowest in the OECD by a mile. So basically, when marriages collapse, birds collapse right along with them. And this social fracture, it is ripped right into the ballot box. Look at the June 2025 snap election. We saw a completely staggering divide. Roughly 3 in 4 young men voted conservative, while about 3 in 5 young women voted progressive. Guys, that's a nearly 40-point political gap. Just to ground us in this reality, surveys are showing that 3 in 4 young adults in Korea view this gender conflict as deeply, deeply serious. This isn't just some fringe internet debate, right? It is absolutely the defining social issue of their generation.
Section 2. The young men's reality. The burden of the provider. So to really get this, we have to look impartially at both sides. The resentment we see from young men today stems from genuine economic and structural pain. Let's break down exactly what they're facing. First off, mandatory military service takes 2 whole years of their absolute prime. Economically speaking, delaying entry into the workforce like that is estimated to cause a hit of up to 10% of their lifetime income. Then they come back to this incredibly brutal job market where fewer than half of youths actually have jobs. Add to that a newly expanded foreign worker quota of 200,000, which many of these guys feel brings cheap competition into those post-military jobs. And the kicker? Despite all these compounded setbacks, society still fully expects them to be the traditional breadwinner and single-handedly front massive housing deposits.
And we need to be very clear here. This economic pressure isn't just frustrating. It is literally deadly. Over 10,000 Korean men died by suicide in 2024 alone. That's more than double the suicide rate of women. So many of these young guys feel completely trapped, tasked with an impossible standard of providing in an economy that, well, it just doesn't support them anymore.
Section 3. The young woman's reality. Structural traps and digital threats.
On the flip side, the female experience in South Korea is defined by its own severe structural traps and a highly toxic digital environment. Despite holding more university degrees than men today, they face the worst earnings gap in the entire developed world. And the threats they face have escalated systemically. Let's look at the timeline here. In 2016, a woman was murdered at Gangnam Station simply for being a woman, which sparked massive protests. Then came the 2018 Molca epidemic, which was this huge crisis of hidden spy cams in public bathrooms. Women felt the police totally ignored them, treating it like a minor issue. But then, a woman secretly filmed a male model and was arrested in days. That glaring hypocrisy really broke the dam. And from there, it only escalated into severe, predatory crimes, like the horrific Nthroom extortion scandal in the 2020s, and then the 2024 deepfake crisis. Make no mistake, these are massive criminal attacks. We're talking over 3,000 cases in a single year, where 9 out of 10 victims were teens or young women.
And that brings us to the 4B movement. You've probably seen this trending online at some point. It stands for opting out of dating, sex, marriage, and childbirth. Now, while it's definitely loud on internet forums, it's really vital to see this as a rational, structural response. For a lot of women, opting out is basically a self-preservation tactic. They're rejecting a societal script that demands their unpaid labor, halts their careers, and exposes them to severe physical and digital threats.
Section 4. The digital and political war. Weaponizing the divide.
So you have these 2 demographics, right? Both are experiencing massive, entirely legitimate structural pain. But rather than resolving it, this mutual pain got weaponized.
Politicians saw this firestorm and realized, hey, angry, frustrated young voters make a highly motivated voting bloc if you know how to channel their grievances. And this played out in real time. In 2022, Yoon Suk-yeol rode this wave of male grievance right into the presidency, actually promising to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality. He literally locked the divide into government policy. But as you can see, this led to massive political instability. In December 2024, Yoon shocked the nation by declaring martial law, which led to his rapid impeachment. By April 2025, the Constitutional Court upheld it, and by February 2026, he got a life sentence for insurrection. The progressive snap election victory that followed? That was defined by that exact same 40-point gender divide we looked at earlier.
Section 5. The true culprit. Economics. The system's breaking both sides. Now here's the real twist in this explainer. When you strip away all the political weaponization and the toxic online flame wars, you find a really surprising truth. Both genders are actually fighting the exact same enemy. The true culprit driving this entire crisis? It's broken economics. Let's start with housing. South Korea has this unique rental system called jeonse. Instead of paying monthly rent like most of us are used to, you hand your landlord a massive lump sum deposit, usually 50 to 80% of the apartment's total market value. The landlord invests it and then returns the principal when you leave. So it's essentially an interest-free loan. But culturally, this immense financial burden is still placed almost entirely on the man's shoulders to provide before they can even get married.
And how much money are we actually talking about here? Well, the average jeonse deposit for an apartment in Seoul is a staggering $480,000. Let that sink in. Almost $500,000. For a young worker making, say, a $30,000 pre-tax salary, that's over a decade of their entire income just to rent. This dynamic drives countless young adults to live in tiny, goshiwon boxes that are barely big enough for a bed. And honestly, it traps women too. If she chips in but the deposit is in his name, leaving a bad marriage means facing total financial ruin. For women, this economic trap continues right into the workplace. It's like a 3-step hurdle. Step 1 is motherhood, where childcare costs over $800 a month, which eats up a huge chunk of income. This leads directly to Step 2, the career cliff. Mothers face a massive 45-point drop in employment as they step back to manage that childcare. And if they do try to return, they hit Step 3, the ajuma trap. Because of Korea's strict age-based linguistic honorifics, older returning women are often pushed out of promotion tracks entirely. They get relegated to these low-status office auntie roles, all while their male peers just keep climbing the ladder. These are the systemic failures that create a massive structural wage gap. A 3.1% wage gap isn't just a simple paycheck-by-paycheck discrepancy. It is baked right into the very system. On top of that, women do 3 times the housework of men, and over 60% of informal elder care lands squarely on daughters and daughters-in-law. Now, the government did try to fix the birth rate. They threw over $250 billion at the problem since 2006 through cash baby bonuses. But it completely failed. Why? Because you can't just throw cash at a structural trap where the economic floor itself has moved. It now absolutely requires 2 incomes just to survive.
Section 6. A warning for the West. Parallel simulations. We really need to zoom out here, because South Korea isn't just some bizarre anomaly. It's a preview. It's the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the developed world, which is running the exact same economic simulation just a few steps behind. Look at how identical economic pain creates totally different reactions based on a country's culture. In Japan, the pain turns inward, right? You see herbivore men and parasite singles quietly resigning from the dating market. In China, you see a quiet refusal, with individuals simply ignoring the traditional script entirely. But in South Korea, fueled by compressed modernity, military asymmetry, and this hyper-fast, unregulated internet, it exploded outward into open political warfare.
And this brings us right back to you and me. South Korea hit every single accelerant at once, resulting in unprecedented gender polarization and collapsing demographics. But look at the West. The exact same ingredients are stacking up right now. In just the last 6 years, the US, the UK, and Germany have all seen massive 30-point gender voting gaps crack open between young men and young women. The divergence isn't coming, it's already here.
So I want to leave you with this. As a generation of men raised to be breadwinners can no longer afford rent, and a generation of highly educated women realize their degrees don't protect them from the career cliff of motherhood, the tension is only building. As these exact same fault lines crack open in the West, how will your country fix this structural gap before it becomes an all-out war? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.